talk. Okay, that's the link. For some people who might be new and the first time here, we are running this every week and we're discussing whatever interesting things there are. It is mostly what I saw, but everybody is welcome. Whatever they saw, suggestions, presentations, anything goes. Okay. Okay, so that goes from today, January 5th, okay, back, and it's going for more than a year. And usually there are two parts. One is theory and one is practice, even though that's not all too far. Theory from practice are not so far because, well, with UI, you know, it's theory became practice, magic became real. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a new way of talking to ChatGPT, and then I will show you what I'm working on and what my projects are. All right, so if we're ready, guys, then we'll start. You hear me okay, I assume, and you also see that okay, and if not, you would tell me. So the first thing that we want to talk about is called Advanced Retrieval for AI with Chroma. That's not Chrome. That's not the browser. It is a course, a new course. So before we go there, let me tell you that Andrew Ng created another course, and he does it about once every 2 weeks, or once a month for sure. I actually collect his courses and other courses, and that's the link. I call it Sky Recommended Team Learning Plan. So let's take away A, right? And if I open that, I don't know why it wants an A, but that's AI for you. If you click on it, you will see something you can start with. Anybody who never learned about it can start with the generative AI and continue with prompt GPT. Now, this first is a long course. It's about 2 weeks every day. They study for a few hours maybe. And that one is a short one, but it's pretty dense. So it will take you, if you are going to do stuff, then it will take you a few hours to go through that. Now, the two links here are, first of all, link to the original course that is usually published in Coursera and then in deeplearning.ai. All of them are under Ames companies. And this one is here. And by the way, I haven't even put this latest, the one that I'm showing you here. I haven't put it here, but I will. Okay, with that, let me go back. We were saying, where was the link? Right here, okay? So you can open the link. First of all, if you open the link, you'll see which course I'm talking about. Yes, that's them. Okay, and that is Anton, what's his name? Anton Troikov, okay, Anton Troikov. That's him, the inventor and the promoter of the new technique. What is the new technique called? It's called Chroma. It is open source, so, you know, amazing. Software is free, knowledge is free. But I'll show you what is not free, and not so much because it costs money, but because it is useful and people need it, and some work is involved in making it happen. So that's the lecture, but I'm not going to go through the lecture. Instead, I'll show you the slides. I will explain what they mean, and I'll talk a little bit about how you do this. Okay, so I'm allowing everybody else who just joined to talk now. You can talk. And in general, I'll tell you what problems they solve and how they solve it. If you want to still do the course, of course, I do recommend it. That's nice. Then one of the things that they give you are the column. let's go to any of the. Well, all you need to do is to start the course. I'm not showing you what he says, but there you are. It's the real course. There is no button to download the notebook, but you can copy paste. So that's one link that you need. Another link that I give you is here, where I go. Here, if I go to this plan of study, or not this one. This one, right? Okay, so the second link is our repo. Our repos are all open source also, and they're basically copies of that with some changes and making sure that it ran. So it doesn't always run. It looks nice. If you go to the course itself, then here it is, and it will work for you. Like if I run the very first cell, let's do it, run first cell, then it will work. But it will only work in their environment, and it will look nice. So that's what I suggest, therefore. Maybe listen to me, maybe discuss it a little bit, and then you can run it. You see it's running. It takes some time to run. It's initializing. In the end, it will most likely run because in the environment I checked it out. But the minute you go into your own copy, and you want it for a few reasons. You want to keep that copy, you want that code, you want to copy paste it and start from there. And it's your code, right? It will break. I almost guarantee you that it'll break. Some of the courses worked out of the box, like copy paste, and some did not. Now, with that, we're ready to go and look at the slides. The slides are right here, and they explain what problems are they solving and how they're solving them. And they are in our class. So if you go here, well, that is appointed to the course. But you know what? I need to give you the slides as well. Here they are. Okay. Copy, and I'm putting that here. So it's saying slides. That way we are complete. And I'm going through the slides. Finally, after all the introductions, which took like about 10 minutes, we're talking about RAG with Chroma. What is RAG? RAG is the way to build your systems with ChatGPT. In the end, there will be a call to ChatGPT. It doesn't have to be ChatGPT because, you know, the official advertisement is that, oh, it will work with any LLM, any large language model. But nobody shows real examples with other LLMs. I'll show you examples with LLM because that's one of my projects, to build it locally with not internet accessible LLM, but with some local like Llama. So I promise, and I think I will do this, but I wonder if it can show. No, well, you'll forgive me, I hope, for showing you this way. You can download that and make it full screen. So, RAG. RAG is Retrieval Augmented Generation, and it's just a code name to have. It doesn't mean much, and it's not any grand thing like ChatGPT. So the significance of ChatGPT compared to that is infinity. I wanted to say 1,000 to 1, but it's not. Okay, if you have ChatGPT, it seems like what else would you need? But the thing is, yes, to make it practical, you need everything. And here we come to the philosophical question: is ChatGPT, is AI useful? Is it going to kill us all? That's what my lawyer friends like to say. Meanwhile, they say we will use it and get rich, but I guarantee you it will kill us. That's one approach. But another approach is that, oh, it will coexist with us. And I happen to be on this side of the argument. I do think that there is exactly a limit between humans and AI. And it's philosophy. You don't know what the future holds. But in my philosophy, I think we'll be friends. All right. So we said enough. If we will be friends, then what else do you need? Well, you need it to have the desire to okay, thank you very much. You have the desire to actually do something. That is one thing that advertisedly the AI doesn't have. I think it doesn't understand anything in really. We are philosophers, right? We are talking about Zen and meaning of life and all of that. So it's hard to imagine with this great advance that there is a limit to what it can do. But I believe there is, and I do programming with ChatGPT like most. And about like maybe 50% is it's writing code or giving me advice, and the rest is I'm doing it. So reg architecture is great, but here's what the but is. It doesn't work practically. It needs additional information in your area. For example, in the legal, you need to give it the case documents. In the medical, you need to give it the medical procedures. In the district attorney office, you need to keep your documents locally and not give it to ChatGPT altogether, and so on. So reg architecture is great, but it's not magic. However, it's much less than magic because it turns out the reg architecture, the way it's working, is limiting. And that is because let's look at the basic picture. First of all, you get the query, right? Like, how are you doing today? That would be easy. But tell me the important people in the set of documents. That's harder. So how we do it? Well, of course, ChatGPT doesn't know what's important. It doesn't know any of your arguments and none of your documents. So you go to the first query. The first query is called querying the embedded storage or querying your search engine, because really it is a search engine. You take your query, here you are, you send it to a retrieval mechanism right here. And that gives you back, it could be a search. You could use a simple search mechanism here, but the problem is search will bring you too much junk. That's exactly why the AI is stronger than a regular search. So you don't use a regular search, but you use embedded search. And here it says embeddings model. That's exactly what it means. It means that you are converting every document not to a set of keywords, the way you would look for them, but a set of meaning. So are we talking about all important people? Well, that is a keyword, all important people, and it's stored, but not as all important people, but as a vector. As a vector, which means all important people. This conversion of your query to a vector is called embedding. So please note that that is not an obvious intuitive term, embedding, but that's what it means. You take a query, convert it to meaning, and you give it a related document. So you found the related document and you found them by meaning. What could be better? That is exactly the reg architecture. So you go search your storage, you find the documents which are similar by meaning, and you hope these are exactly the documents that ChatGPT needs to see before it can answer. So, not so fast. It turns out that when you're looking for similar meaning here, then you are back to 2013 technology. That is when search by meaning was discovered by Thomas Mikolov, who worked at Microsoft and at Google, and now I think back to his native Czechoslovakia. And he invented the whole idea of embeddings, but he was not alone at that. So embeddings are nice. They find related documents. But today, 10 years later, you have very smart ways of processing it. And meanwhile, you're using pretty much the same old idea, embeddings. What's the problem with that? Here's the problem. We take all of our embeddings, we take all of our words and word combinations, and we store them as a vector space. And that's about what it looks like. Each point here represents a word or a combination of words, and then we're able to find similar documents. What we should be able to do is, I think, this is annotate. Yeah, look at that. So if I find, let me stop this annotation. So you find this one point, and then you find the points that are close to it, and you hope that is exactly what ChatGPT needs to see before it can give you an answer. That's your idea. That's called embeddings. You take your words and embed them into a vector space. But in practical life, it doesn't work like this. This is called, now I cannot remove it, right? So unless I can remove it, we'll have to live like, oh, I think there is clear all drawings, clear my drawings. Okay, wonderful, it worked. Okay, so you found your point. And what you hope to happen is that nearby points will be exactly the related documents, but unfortunately, this is not as smart. This embedding is not as smart as ChatGPT, and therefore you bring in extra pieces of knowledge that it doesn't need, and that will only confuse it. It's like you hire a lawyer, an expensive lawyer, and you give him, in addition to related documents, also some junk. He will be unhappy, and you will not be happy paying his bill. So what people do is recognize that there is a problem. Let's say I'm asking what is the total revenue. I expect only related documents, but I get more. And these are the three ideas that will help. Not completely, but they will be the major ideas. So first of all, the first idea is called expansion with generated answers. What if we do this? What if we supplying the LLM with our question, we will also give it our supposed answer. Now, where do we get this answer? That's another question. But let's imagine that I have some possible answers. Then if I search here, search for, here's the question, but by the way, I think that these are the possible answers, then I will get much more focused because now I'm giving it as a prompt. I'm saying, that's the question. And by the way, something like that is an answer and it should be found in the same documents. That way you understand, or it understands, that it needs to bring documents that are similar in meaning to the question and also expect to have the answer there. That is the first one. Now, sounds a bit like magic, but there is a technology to implement, and that's exactly this Chroma. So you're giving the question and also supplying the possible generated answer. Well, how exactly are you going to generate these answers? That's beyond what I'm talking about, but it is possible to get an answer. That's idea number one. It works. We're done with this idea. Let's go to the next one. The next idea is, okay, I'm asking you a question. You're bringing back some answers. Now I want to rank them again because I understand that you're an old technology. You do search by meaning of just these words, but they don't understand what I'm saying. So we ask the question, we ask the vector DB, that's the same question. It could be Pinecone, it could be, by the way, Chroma. I think they also produce this kind of database that searches by meaning. So you search it by meaning, get back a set of results. Here they are. Now you re-rank the output so that the most relevant documents will have the highest rank. So this is how we solved it. Here we said, give me the documents that will have the answer and the question. So that's how I'm limiting the number of answers. Here too, I'm also limiting the number of answers by just making them not as important. So I will only send to the ChatGPT maybe the first part as more important. And then once I select this, then I send that to ChatGPT. So you see, the basic ideas are very clear. Limit all of the documents that might be relevant, bring more, bring those that might have an answer, and then rehash them, only give the ChatGPT what is really important. And that is idea number 2. Idea number 3 here is called embedding adapter. Okay, now all of that is not your first introductory course, right? All of that is a bit more complex. And if you look at the code, which you would be able to see here, that would be the code. So that only shows what's bad. Now here, it shows you what's good. Right. So you will see very hairy code, but the problem is not easy. That's where they refer to the whole article about this idea, and that's the code. No code looks very easy, but that one looks a bit harder than normal. Nevertheless, what we need is to solve the problem, and that is how it is supposedly solved. So embedding adapter, I was kind of apologizing for all this terminology. Expansion with generated answers, now I understand what that means. Re-ranking, ranking, we understand what that means. And finally, embedding adapter. You remember, embedding is a way to take the query and convert it into a vector. By the way, how big is that vector? It's a few hundred places. The vector is a few hundred coordinates long. The ones that I use with Pinecone, they are 1500. The ones that they give here, it's a few hundred, like 3, 4, 500. That's the kind of vector we're dealing with. And if it is that kind of vector, how am I showing it in a two-dimensional space? Here, turns out that you can project it into a two-dimensional space. Of course, you lose lots of information, but that's the best that we can do for humans. And here you are. That's how I was saying that in this picture, they were close, but not exactly close. Well, because projected, if points are close in a multi-dimensional space, they will be close even in less dimensions. Not exactly, but that gives you some idea. Okay, but back to the third idea is that, okay, we are imitating fine-tuning. We're taking the model, we are using these embeddings, and we find that doesn't work. So in the real life, it's called the human feedback. Well, we're imitating that. We're giving it the feedback, and we do train the model a little bit now. Now, what changes is that before, we just applied a straightforward conversion from words to vectors. Now we're training this model, and that's why it's called embedding adapter. We are adapting our embeddings, And here you are, we align them a little bit better. With the same idea, the idea is very clear. Are these documents relevant? That's what I need to know. Once I find the relevant documents, I send them to ChatGPT. These are standard by now techniques. You can find them in this course, and that's what the core code looks like. And I'm sure that with some tweaking, you can make it work on your machine. In fact, I'll tell you my interest in that is that we are going to improve our AI, and that's how you do it. I'm standing on the verge of improving AI in quite a few projects. I'll show you one example. That is what the Chroma, rig with Chroma is. And then he says there are absolutely latest here techniques. He doesn't explain them. You will have to go and find out what that means. So keep in mind that at the end, you're giving a high level and more magic. You need to be a certified magician for that. But they talk about additional approaches, deep embedding adapters. I imagine it will be just like our embedding adapters, but using deep learning. Well, we are using deep learning even before, but okay, at least it feels now that we are doing something right. Our ChatGPT and other LLMs are good, and we are not bringing just the old technology to the new dish, but we are creating some new technology. That is what's possible. Now, at this point, I will stop sharing and keep silent for a minute. If you have any questions, you will have a chance to ask. Okay, or you can think of more questions and ask them later. Now, I'm also allowing all people that came later to talk, so you can talk. I will share the screen. Here you are. And I'm going to show you some of the things that I'm working on right here. Now, I'm working on a project called FREED, Free Electronic Evidence Discovery. Let me move that to the side. Here. Okay, and I can run that. And FREED has two parts. The first part is the lab. This is where you take all your documents and process them. So AI by now is included in here. For example, I can look at my projects that are all here and open a project and go to the AI advisor. And here you can ask questions. It's the same technology. It's the same RAG. It's the same search engine by Mini. Then it is asking, that's indexing, that's sending all the documents to the search engine and then asking questions. So let's look at that. I chose a very small project and it works. We're lucky because I'm in my working environment. So it says I finished, I've done with 5 documents. So tell me who are the people involved. And that I probably showed you. And it found all the people involved. And now the new thing is that it said, you know what, I found it in this document and this and that. So, okay, in fact, it found all out of 5, 4 were important. My next step here is this is the unique ID of a document, but I also have a review. A review is in the browser. That what you see is a lab. And what is great about this is that it is under my control. It's all internal, and I can change it all I want. So it turns out that many projects can start from here. For example, I'm working on the medical project and the same architecture applies. In fact, if I run this, it will suddenly, with an M parameter, it will suddenly become a medical application. I'm not showing you that because it's not important. What is important, however, is this. You see, if you just want to talk to ChatGPT, well, anybody can do it, and ChatGPT is not that great at doing what you want. But let's say you're doing civil litigation. If you're doing civil litigation, then there may be a few tasks that you might be interested in doing. One of them is find me all responsive documents. What is that? That means that you are saying, here is a lawsuit. And in that lawsuit, let's say it's malpractice. And here are the claims. Now, please find all supporting documents for these claims, and then find all the documents that are negative and say there was no malpractice, right? Well, that's very interesting, challenging. Obviously, ChatGPT by itself will not do it, but you need to work together. Back to philosophy. You say, I want a civil investigation, I want all responsive document, and it should give you. Or you can say, give me all privileged documents. For that, you need a completely different set. You need to know why is this document privileged and shouldn't be produced to the other side. And that could be spouse privilege. For example, you may disclose all your secrets to your wife or husband. And I think the law says today only husband and wife. So, and that is not privileged, and that's privileged, and the other side shouldn't see it. Or you told your secrets to your lawyer, and that is also something they shouldn't see. Or the third one is a smoking gun. Smoking gun means this. Could you write the perfect evidence even though it doesn't exist? Just write it. Write it. And I'll try to find you a document that is exactly like that. How about it? Well, if you try to do it today, it will tell you, nice try, but you know, we're working on it. And so tell us which of these reports is the most interesting for you right now. So that's what I wanted to show. It's ready for that. And the minute we release that, people will say, oh, so great, I want it. And will come back saying, no, I'm doing criminal investigation. And did the police follow all the procedures? They will click on this and it will tell them the same thing. No, you cannot have it yet, but we want your input, guys. And then how about were the medical procedures observed? Was there fraud? So you see, it's a lot of things to do, which right now is only in preparation. But the fact that it can already talk to your documents to ChatGPT, that is already a great thing. We're releasing that in about 7 days. That's because the first thing that we release is a friendly release, and the code resides on the same machine that the users get. So we don't want to put it out in the open, all the code for everyone. Therefore, like in a day or two, we do a friendly release, and then in a week, we do a regular release. That is what I wanted to show. That is what it's doing now. And by the way, that is a lab. Where is the review? Let's see if it will open. No, it won't open. That's because I run it. I run it from another project, and I wanted to show you that. So let's look at that. And let's run it here. Let's see if it runs. it says that you are already running it. Let's try localhost, but no guarantee that it will run. Oh, it did run. Okay. So the same thing as I showed you in the lab, it works here. You can also ask questions, the same special reports. That's the plan. And notice that even part of it, of that project, is free. It's open source. So you can play with it too. But if anybody wants to really exercise that, I would suggest they get support. It's only $50 a month. I'm not selling it. I'm just saying that probably won't be able to set everything up correctly in the open source. So don't be surprised. You can study the code, and if we go into GitHub, and if we find that repository here, then what we will see is that it is public. Here it is, and we have forks, and we have people who started it, made a star, and it has the built software. So it's there. People are able to use it, but we support it will be more fun. All right, now that I showed you that, I fulfilled my promise about what we're going to talk about. It was right here, right? And we looked at the new course from Andrew Ng, and that is making your AI applications real, making them smarter. And these are the slides for that. And then I showed you how I use my own project as a lab, because you see that it is pretty much the same idea. Let's say you want to access medical documents with AI. So first of all, you need access to these documents within HIPAA. Everything should be compliant. But then something like Free will do it for you. That's why it's interesting area of applications. Let's put it this way. Okay, so let me stop sharing, and let me say this. Let me in chat, let me say any questions.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
Well,
Yes, please ask.
okay. So I'm wondering about these software, free EEDs. How do you pronounce that?
I call it FREED. It means Free Electronic
Free.
Evidence Discovery. But as you see, it's a bit more. It's a general engine.
Yeah, but these are open source software, right?
Yes, they are. And I'm showing you exactly how I work on this project, and it compiles. It's real. Here you are. I can say MVN compile. Okay, I said it compiles, but yeah, it normally compiles. Yes, your question.
So, like, who participate in the development of these software? Is that just people from anybody who is interested in it, or is that as a company that sponsor the development?
Okay. I'll tell you honestly, it's not, let's say, LibreOffice. LibreOffice is a well-known open source project, and there are quite a few people. On this one, let me share the screen. I started it. I wrote the first version 10 years ago. And since then, a few people were involved. They are right here. You can see 2 times I myself under a different name, and then Ivan Lazarov, and then Farshin, and so on. So there are 9 people who were contributors at some point of time. But people change their interests, so they are sometimes in, sometimes out. It requires a lot of knowledge. It's not easy to jump in. I will, for anybody who wants it, I will make them sign a contributor agreement because they are contributing open source code. So there are rules. But
So
is that your
you
question?
no, you're doing this in your spare time, or this is actually your job?
That's a good question. So when I started it, I was doing other things. And then for the next 10 years, I was also traveling around the world and teaching how to build software. So
Okay.
technology, big data. Meanwhile, the project was going on, but lately I started implementing what I'm teaching. If I teach you how to deal with big data, then it would be interesting to actually do it. And therefore, I got a chance to really implement whatever
Okay.
I was doing. And now I'm working on that nonstop.
Okay. So I saw that in the window, the software GUI, there's the software has the ability to scan document and break them down into words. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And this is OCR, optical character recognition.
Right. So do you I'm
That's
guessing you would
included.
have to I'm guessing you would have to use leverage other software to do that, right? Rather
Yes,
than write
yes.
all that
And
function yourself.
somewhere here, it will give you a list of all the softwares. So here it says what
Okay.
it can do, but how does it do OCR? It does it with the Zika. Zika is the major engine, and I think there Zika is now including OCR by itself. If not, Tesseract is the engine, and then all of these softwares. So it's building on
Okay.
other open source softwares.
Okay. Which one does the OCR? Is that
Two,
Tika?
Zika is one,
Okay.
and then Tesseract. I'll
Okay. It's not listed here, right? But
no, I'll put it on the
once you
chat.
scan the document and break them down into words, you have to do the embedding. Like how do you?
Yes. Okay. 1 second. I'll tell you. I also wanted to mention this. In Casify, we do similar things. And Casify is this application that's for lawyers. And these lawyers, once they upload their documents, we use OCR. But for that, we
Yeah.
use a different OCR. We investigated
Okay.
all other OCRs, and one of them was Adobe. And Adobe has a service, but they're a strange thing in the sense that you can get an Adobe account for about $20 a month, but there's a limit. You can get the API and you'll get 500 batches that you can process every month. I think it is that. So if you want more, they send you to industrial applications, and these guys are very hard to get hold of. And in the end, they came up with a price that doesn't make any sense. So that's what is strange about them. And we found a different OCR engine. It's OCR, Iron OCR.
So the OCR, sorry, scan
There
the
you are.
document.
Once you started Iron OCR, it mentioned how those kinds of things. You start searching
Yeah.
and you buy that software because there are quite a lot of offerings where you pay per document. And you cannot really build any serious application paying others per individual document. So we have a license. It costs a few $1,000s. Iron OCR is the one that we use. That one only works with .NET and so on. That's the real world is very complex, and that's what I'm showing you. Is that your question?
No, I'm trying to. So OCR converts a document, image, right, into a
Image. It
list of
converts an
words,
image into words.
into
Yes.
a list of words, right?
Some of
So
them do a better job and some keep the formatting and some don't.
right. So right now, like if I do a Google search and it finds a document, and right now it does one more thing that it didn't do before, which is it can highlight the
Oh
paragraph
yeah, Google is very
related to my
smart.
search, right?
Exactly.
So what
And
does
Google silently does OCR on all of your documents in your drive.
okay,
And
but
so you
what
upload paper and then you can search thanks to
yeah,
Google.
what does it take for Google to do that? Like I search for a few keywords, right? And then it will find a document and it will highlight a paragraph it think most related to the keywords I search. Because if you just do the OCR, you just have a list of
Yes, you
words
have a list of
that's
words.
kind of a it doesn't really have any meaning, right? But to find a paragraph that best match to the keyword I search, it has to understand
Well, it's
the meaning
there.
of these sentences,
That's what
right?
they should have told you. So in
Mhm,
this free application, there
mhm.
is an AI, but there's a search. And if I'm
Okay.
searching for a word, no John's there. Okay, well, show me everything that you have. Okay, so it has 5 documents. And
Mhm,
then they have like um, here, random. So let's look for random. It finds random, right? So how do I do it? I do OCR if required. Some documents already give you text, but if they don't give you text, you do OCR. Then you stick it into a search engine. We use Solar, and then you search. Is that your
mhm.
question? I hope I'm answering the question.
So how did you find the render? So you do search render and then you have a number of documents that has the render?
Well, these are all. Only one had that.
Okay.
That it's so I said, don't search for everything, search for one thing that found random. Right here,
Okay.
it says how to do these searches.
Yeah, I
That
think when the search result return very limited output, that's that isn't that the job is not too challenging. I think the difficult for Google is it has billions of billions of document, right? It has to find the one because if you just do a
you're
search,
asking good
it gives you billing
questions.
result.
Yeah, you're
It's not useful, but it just give you one result. Then or you look at it is
right,
it's
but
not what I
you're
want.
asking
Then
good
just throw
questions, but you need to know the area of search, and it's not
it.
something that is one word answer. In other words,
Hmm.
if you really want to understand it, you need to learn about search, and
Yeah.
there are books on that. Then it will be keyword search. Then you need to learn about embeddings, and then you need to
Right.
learn about models like BERT.
Okay.
And
For the
in other words,
embedding,
you are kind of asking like, how do you do a plane? It flies, and I like to do something like what it does. But in asking a deep question, you're touching on many layers of engineering.
so for embedding for your software
Mhm,
free, right? What do you use for
mhm.
embedding?
A good question. We use open AI embeddings.
Oh, is that also open source software?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I mean,
Open AI is not, but open AI embeddings specifically
it,
are.
oh, okay. So after you do the OCR that convert the image into words,
Oh,
then you
okay.
do the embedding on that.
I
Is that
see
correct?
an input from Olga, and she says that would be a good thing to discuss in the next meetings. First of all, next meeting is an indication that we shouldn't do it now. And secondly, what, Olga, what would be a good question to discuss? Which one? It? You mean OCR or search or anything? So I'll do it like this. Everyone,
Yeah,
what?
I think I'm mostly interested how do you prepare the data so that when you do search, it gives you good result, right? And
Well,
especially when the
right.
data volume is
Let me ask
huge,
you
how do
that.
you
I
prevent
have
that?
to ask you a straight question. How much do you know?
I know nothing.
Then I'm sorry, there is no hope.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yes, I'm serious because like somebody comes to me again using the example of a plane and how do you build Google?
Uh-huh.
Well, what will be the answer? Well, you go to college and you get a degree, and then maybe likely you get a PhD, and that's how you build Google, and then you start to understand. So that's why I so far wasn't able to answer because that's a lot of knowledge. So maybe should ask another question. What is your goal?
I want to learn about AI. I know a lot about computer science,
Uh-huh.
algorithm, programming. I know a lot about that.
So you want
But
to learn about AI in general, right?
right, right, right.
For that, I recommend that you go to our webinar right here, and it says Sky recommended learning path. Well, the
Okay.
web team doesn't run. Start with this link. It will be right here, and specifically start with these two courses.
I
I'll
mean,
put it in our chat
oh, okay, okay.
because
Yes. Thank you.
AI learn, and that's the link.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, now, Philomena, quick question. Where can someone who is just new jumping understand the perfect, isn't that perfect? That's good that you asked the question, because that was the answer. Start right here.
Okay.
And
You put this in
that
the
is really, you don't need any prerequisites, no degrees, nothing. That is right here. I'm showing you. I put it in the chat. You can start, maybe you can start with number 2 and then go with number 3. So I will rearrange because that should be the first one and that should be the second one. But these two,
Okay, yeah, it doesn't matter.
it
I
doesn't really
will
matter,
look
right?
around.
Exactly. And tell us next time you come, tell us what your achievements are.
Okay. I
Okay.
cannot commit to anything because
No,
I have
don't
a
commit,
job.
but see if
Yeah,
you're doing.
yeah.
All right, guys, that was a great discussion. Thank you very much for that. And now I
Okay.
wish you
Thank
a
you.
great weekend, and then I will see you all next Friday.
Thank you, Mark. Bye.
You're very welcome. All right, goodbye. Thank you. Happy New Year to everybody.